Hello, my little kinder kiddos. I hope that you guys are ready for another day of learning fun because I know that I am. So let's get started on our schedule. Just like always, we start with number 1, calendar. Now, I don't know if you remember, but yesterday when we did calendar, yesterday was the last day of April. That means yesterday was Thursday, April 30th, the last day. So, do you know what month comes after April? Well, let's sing our days of our months of the year song and see if we can figure it out. Okay. January, February, March, April, May. Let's go ahead and sing the whole song, but now we know that this month is May. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Nice job. Okay, so here is this month. Now, if today is the first day, that means today is the first. So we're looking at the number 1, and we can see that today is Friday. Let's say it in a complete sentence. Today is Friday, May 1st, 2020. The year is still the same because we have not completed our whole year up to December. So it is still 2020. Now, if today is Friday the 1st, tomorrow is going to be Saturday the 2nd. Now remember, Saturday and Sunday, those are weekend days. So that means tomorrow and the day after we won't have a video. So I will see you for the next week on Monday. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and let's say the days of the week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Awesome. So on this Friday, our daily write it word is big. This is a picture of a ram, and we're going to say it's a girl. So we call a girl a she. So we're going to say she is big. So let's tap out the word big. B-ig. Big on our arm. B-ig. Big. Okay, now let's use that word big in a sentence. I hope you can figure out how to spell it. Your sentence is, she is as big as can be. She is as big as can be. Let's count the words. She is as big as can be. So 7 words. Remember to do everything that good writers do. Capital at the beginning, spaces in between, punctuation at the end. That's correct. You're spelling your words correctly by stretching them out and remembering your trick words and forming your letters correctly. So remember, your families have these packets that they're going to use to help you if you struggle with a letter or if you make a letter in a really funky and wonky way, right? We always form our letters correctly. We're building good habits, right? Okay, so I would like you guys to pause the video and on your special lined paper, please write the sentence, she is as big as can be. Okay, I'll bet you wrote your sentence. So let's check it out and let's see how you did. She is, I guess I said she is as big as can be, but our sentence is, she is big as can be. So if you added an as here, that's definitely great because that's what Mrs. Jones said. But let's look at it without that extra as. She starts with a capital letter because she is the beginning word of your sentence. And when I said that sentence, I said it excitedly. So I have an exclamation point at the end. She is big as can be. A lot of these words are trick words. She, is, as, be. Can is a word that we can sound out because we know that an says an. So is big. Big is a word that we can also sound out. Big. And then as is one of our new trick words that we're working on this week. If you got your sentence correct, fabulous job. Give yourself a pat on the back. If you made a mistake or a few, that's okay because you tried your best. But go ahead and pause the video and fix your sentence now. Okay, let's continue. We are on number 3, letter and number review. So today, just like always, we're doing 2 letters, 1 number. The first letter we are going to make today is S. Remember, uppercase S and lowercase s, they're the same, they're just different sizes. Let's make our uppercase S first. Skyline, trace back, curve to the plane line, curve back to the grass line. S, snake, S. Lowercase s is the same except you start at the plane line. Trace back, curve in the middle, curve back to the grass line. S, snake, S. Time for T. Uppercase letters always start at the skyline, so I'm going to start at the skyline. I'm going to go straight down to the grass line. Frog jump to the skyline, fly across. T, top, T. Lowercase t. I know you guys are great at these. Skyline, straight down to grass line. Frog jump up and over to the plane line, fly across. T, top, T. Okay, now it's time for our numbers. Now, I don't have enough room here to make our numbers, so I'm going to go ahead and erase. Now, yesterday we worked with 9 and 19. What number comes after 19? 20. So today we're working on 20, and we're also going to work on 10. Because in kindergarten, we're learning how to count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So we're going to do the first 2 numbers when you count by 10. 10, 20. Let's do both of those. If I were to write the number 10, what numbers would I need to write? A 1 and a 0 makes 10 the hero. So I'd start with a 1 and then a 0. Remember to always start your zeros at the skyline. Now I'm making 20. What numbers do I need for a 20? A 2 and a 0. The 2 has to be first. That shows us that we have 2 groups of 10. 0 extra ones. All right, guys. Go ahead, pause the video, and on your special lined paper, do 2 uppercase S's, lowercase s's, uppercase t's, lowercase t's, 2 10s, and 2 20s. Have fun! Great job. Let's go ahead and let's continue. We are on number 4, lesson plan packet. We are still on week 6, and this is Friday, so we are on day 5. So the first thing that we can see on day 5 is reading. Now, on our reading sheet, it says that we're working on Let's Explore South America. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about the big question. And today in our reading, our big question is, whom would you meet in South America? So it's the same big question as Wednesday, but today we're going to answer that big question. Remember, sometimes big questions take multiple days to answer. Then you're going to read pages 25 because this is the beginning of day 5. Parents, you'll read page 25, 26, 27. Then there's questions that you're going to ask your child on the reading sheet. Then you guys are going to work together to answer the big question. Hopefully your kiddo has a very good idea of what an answer might be to that big question. When you're done with that, you're going to work on activity 5.1. So what you're going to do is look at the map and use this. You can use this as you read, but when you're done, you can color it if you want to. But you're looking at South America. All right. Those are all of our reading activities for the day. After reading, we come down to math, and we're doing daily drills and subtraction. So for day 5 on our daily drills, how many? Count, write the number. Draw one more. This many plus one more equals, write your answer and draw how many that makes. Then we're finishing up our subtraction fluency paper. So it's Friday. You're doing the Friday line. Remember, solve them in your brain immediately. Try to do it without using your fingers or a drawing. But if you get confused on a question, definitely I want you to use your fingers and do a drawing so you can see how we figure out the answer. Okay? So this is the same as we've been doing all week. So hopefully you know what to do with that. Reading log is next. Remember, that can be at any time throughout the day. So lastly, on our lesson plan is phonics. We're skipping number 5 because we did it in the video. So number 6, it says read and mark them up. So you have 2 papers today, and they're both pretty different because we're focusing on digraphs now. Now, we've been focusing on 3 digraphs so far in kindergarten. TH, thumb, SH, ship, sh, CH, chin, ch. You're going to use those digraphs today as we do this paper. But we're also going to talk about 2 more digraphs that we haven't focused on a lot in kindergarten. So they have the digraphs listed here for you. We're working on CH, SH, TH. Now here's our new one, WH and CK. WH, that digraph is common in a lot of our question words. Who, what, when, where, why, which. They all start with WH. They make a W sound. CK, we know C says K and we know K says K. So you put them together and they just say K. They don't say K, K. They just say K one time. Okay? So what you're going to do is go through all of these words, underline your digraphs, and then read the words. All right, your next page, you're going to tap it out using your digraphs. So this is ship, sh, I, p. Write the sounds, sh, I, p. Write the word. We know SH says sh, so we would have 2 letters in that one box, SH. Just like in this one, chick, ch, I, k, chick. Awesome job, guys. Remember to listen to your family because they are your teachers too. Go ahead and pause the video and you can complete all of those activities now. Alrighty, guys, let's continue on. We are on number 5, our read aloud. We are talking about North America. That is our continent, right? We're talking about the world and what makes the world amazing. And we're learning that what makes the world amazing is that we have 7 continents, and all of our continents are so different. There's different wonderful people, wonderful animals, wonderful landmarks. They're all so different. So today we're going to continue talking about our continent, North America. And I have for you a folk tale that started in North America. So, let's begin. I don't know if you have ever heard about this folk tale, but this is called Paul Bunyan. Let's begin. Paul Bunyan, a tall tale retold and illustrated by Kevin Kellogg. Paul Bunyan, a tall tale retold and illustrated by Kevin Kellogg. And here is a dedication page. At the top it says, "For my heroic nephew, Steve Hoffman." So Stephen Kellogg wrote this book for his nephew. It's nice of him. Paul Bunyan was the largest, smartest, and strongest baby ever born in the state of Maine. Even before he learned to talk, Paul showed an interest in the family logging business. He took the lumber wagon and wandered through the neighborhood collecting trees. There were so many complaints about Paul's visits that his parents anchored his cradle in the harbor. Look at that. All was well until Paul started rocking the cradle and stirring up waves. After his parents had paid for the damage, they decided to move to the backwoods where life would be more peaceful. Paul loved his new wilderness home. He soon grew into a sturdy lad who was quick on his feet. He could blow out a candle and leap into bed before the room came dark. Every day he joined his forest friends in their sports. He raced with the deer and wrestled with the grizzlies. One morning, Paul awoke to find the world under a blanket of blue snow. He heard a moan from inside a snowdrift, and there he found a shivering ox calf. Paul adopted him and named him Babe. Both Paul and Babe began growing at an astonishing rate, but the ox never lost the color of the snow which he'd been rescued from. As the years passed, the two of them proved to be extremely helpful in the family business. At 17, Paul grew a fine beard, which he combed with the top of a pine tree. By this time, the other settlers were beginning to crowd into the Maine woods. Paul felt an urge to move on. He said goodbye to his parents and headed west. Paul wanted to cross the country with the best lumbering crew available. He hired Ole, a celebrated blacksmith, and two famous cooks, Sourdough Slim and Cream Puff Fatty. Then he signed up legendary lumbermen like Big Tim Burr, Hardjaw Murphy, and the 7 Hackett brothers. Paul put the camp buildings on wheels so that Babe could haul them from one forest to another. As soon as he had cleared the land, pioneers moved in to set up farms and villages. On the far slopes of the Appalachian Mountains, several of Paul's men were ambushed by a gang of underground ogres called gumbaroos. Paul grabbed the camp dinner horn and blew a thunderous note into the gumbaroos' cave, determined to blast the meanness right out of them. To Paul's dismay, the gumbaroos responded by snatching the entire crew. A wild, rough-and-tumble rumpus began inside the den. When that historic tussle was over, the gumbaroos needed 6 weeks to untangle themselves. They disappeared into the depths of the earth, and they've never been heard from since. Paul's next job was to clear the heavily forested Midwest. He hired armies of extra woodsmen and built enormous new bunkhouses. The men sailed up to bed in balloons and parachuted down to breakfast in the morning. Unfortunately, the cooks couldn't flip flapjacks fast enough to satisfy all of the newcomers. To solve the muddle, Paul built a colossal flapjack griddle. The surface was greased by kitchen helpers with slabs of bacon laced to their feet. Every time the hot griddle was flooded with batter, it blasted a delicious flapjack high above the clouds. Usually the flapjacks landed neatly beside the griddle, but sometimes they were a bit off target. Paul took a few days off to dig the St. Lawrence River and the Great Lakes so that barges of Vermont maple syrup could be brought to the camp. Fueled by the powerful mixture of flapjacks and syrup, the men leveled the Great Plains and shaved the slopes of the Rocky Mountains. They probably would have sawed the peaks themselves into logs if a blizzard hadn't suddenly buried the entire mountain range. That blizzard continued for several years, snuffing out the springs, summers, and autumns. The crew burrowed into their bunkhouses and hibernated. Babe became so depressed that Paul asked Ole to make a pair of sunglasses for his friend. When Babe saw that the world colored green, he thought he'd stumbled into a field of clover. He began eating the snow with such gusto that soon the treetops reappeared. At that point, all those pent-up springtimes simply exploded, dissolving the storm clouds and the remaining snow. Paul and his friends invited some newly arrived settlers to join them in a celebration of all the holidays they had missed. After the festival, the lumberjacks continued their journey. But as they headed southwest, the blistering sun and the giant Texas varmints proved to be more of a problem than they had expected. Travel became so difficult that some of the men began to speak longingly of being buried by a blizzard or a bear hugged by a gumbaroo. While crossing Arizona, the griddle curled up like a burned leaf, and the batter evaporated. Deprived of their flapjacks, the lumbermen became weak and discouraged. Paul's great axe fell from his shoulder, gouging a jagged trench, which today is known as the Grand Canyon. Disaster seemed certain until Paul came up with a desperate plan. He headed east and found a family that could sell him a barn filled with corn. Babe galloped it back across the desert. When the flaming sunrise hit that barn, it exploded, and the lumbermen awoke to find themselves in a raging blizzard of popcorn. Dizzy with joy, they pulled on their mittens and began blasting each other with popcorn balls. A westerly wind kept the cooling clouds of popcorn swirling around Paul and his crew until they crossed California and reached the Pacific Ocean. After he had crossed the country, some say that Paul gave up lumbering and rambled north, searching for new areas of untouched wilderness. With the passing years, Paul has been seen less and less frequently. However, along with his unusual size and strength, he seems to possess an extraordinary longevity. Sometimes, his great bursts of laughter can be heard rumbling like distant thunder across the wild Alaskan mountain ranges, where he and Babe still roam. The end. So, thinking about this folk tale and all folk tales, do you think that this is a true story, nonfiction, or do you think it's fiction and false? This story is fiction. It is false. People have used their imaginations to come up with folk tales like this. But they are very interesting to listen to, aren't they? All right. I'll bet you guys enjoyed that folk tale from North America. I know I did. Let's go ahead and let's move on. We are on number 6, math. So, today we are talking about weight. You can measure how much something weighs. What are words that we might use to describe weight? Well, something can be really heavy or something can be really light. Some things weigh about the same. So that's what we're going to focus on today in our math lesson. So first, let's look at this boy, and he is holding 2 objects. He's holding a book and he is holding a block. Which object do you think would weigh more? Which object do you think would be heavier? Well, probably the book. So we're going to put an X on the object that is heavier, which means the block is feeling what? Lighter. It is not as heavy, so we call it lighter. Nice job. All right. Opening it up. Let's continue. On number 1, which object is heavier than scissors? Well, do you think a paper clip would be heavier? Probably not. They're very small. What about a book? I would agree. What about a rubber band? No, they're very little and light. Okay, number 2. Which object would be heavier than a book? Would a book bag be heavier than a book? Definitely. So we're going to circle the book bag. What about a cube? No, that would be lighter. A pencil? Lighter than a book. Okay, number 3. Which object would be lighter or weigh less than this marker? What about the book? The book would probably be heavier. What about the paper clip? A paper clip would be lighter than a marker. What about a container of paint? That would be heavier than a marker. Number 4, thinking about which object might be lighter than this eraser. What about the counter? That would definitely be lighter. Stapler? Stapler would be heavier than an eraser. What about tape? They might be about the same. But it's hard to tell without having them in your hands, right? All right, guys. Awesome. Let's go ahead and let's continue. We're all finished with math, so we're moving on to number 7, flashcard practice. Every day we do our trick words, and then on Fridays we do numbers. Let's go ahead and let's do our trick words first. I will show you the word. I would like for you to say what it is out loud. By, they, is, was, she, are, me, I, the, he, you, to, be, my, a, we, and, his, as, has. Excellent. Now we just have our numbers, all the way from 0 to 20. 6, 8, 14, 12, 16, 10, 9, 11, 15, 20, 17, 19, 7, 13, 18. Excellent. Great job, guys. We are all finished with our activities. The only thing we have left is number 8, our thematic video. Now, remember, we have been talking about the continent North America. Well, we live in the continent North America, but we live in one of its countries that is called the United States of America. Now, earlier in kindergarten, we had talked about some special symbols that represent our country, the United States of America. So today, since we're studying North America, I thought that we could review some of those symbols. So that will be your thematic video today. But I hope that you guys enjoy the video And I hope that you enjoy your thematic video. And we are all finished for the day. It will be the weekend tomorrow and the day after, so I will not see you guys on our video then, but I will see you guys back on Monday. Remember that I love you and I miss you, and I hope I will get to see you guys soon. Bye.